Well, we're here, the ninth tip, Chad, of our 10 tips to win football games series. We're all the way to 9. We're almost there. And Chad has
Right.
made most of these.
Most of
And
them.
here we are. Number 9, you can't ask the players to be tough if the coaches give up easy. So how are we going to ask these players to play in the rain when Michael and Chad were under a tree hiding?
I was in the press box in the game. I felt like that was fair. Like it
And
was
Coach Maxwell,
equivalent to where I would be.
the best part of that story to finish it, and then we go on, is they went down, and I don't know if they scored or we stopped them, but it was a long drive. And I thought, all right, it's over. I was showing some toughness. I was out there getting soaked. And I said, well, we're probably about to go in here. And Coach Maxwell said, we're going to get one more series in. And I had a moment where I had to ask myself. I looked over at Michael and Chad, saw what their opinion was. I looked over at Coach Maxwell, and I wanted to show a little toughness to these boys. So I let him go one more time. And that's what I'm talking about, guys. Don't be but in all seriousness, this is what gets people, Chad. This is what gets you in your job. It's what gets people in all jobs. But we're talking about coaching. Everyone, what do you always say? Like, everybody can be positive when everything's going their way. Everybody can have this great plan and talk a bunch of trash and be ready to roll when everybody supports them. Everybody's a good ball coach when they're 8-0. Everybody's got the attitude and the toughness, and everybody's going to put the time in on Sunday when they're 8-0.
Right.
Who is going to develop relationships, communicate, spend the time to get organized? Basically, these next 2 weeks are about summarizing all the other things. Who's going to focus on catching punts? Who's going to focus on charting efficiency? Who's going to focus on all those things we talked about? Even when there's people up in the stands trying to get you fired, maybe the principal's down on you. Maybe the basketball coach don't like you. Maybe your best kid just got hurt and he's out for the year. This is what gets people unsuccessful in their coaching career. They cannot manage any adversity. So I know we've spent many minutes already making jokes about standing under trees and stuff. I'm actually not talking about that kind of toughness. I hope people got that already. I'm saying, how can we ask the kids to be resilient when the first time something goes different for you, you're ready to throw your hands up? And I'll give you this example, and I'm going to pass it on to you, Chad, because I think you probably can talk as much as me on this. How many times do we see people, coaches, but it couldn't have to be coaches, could be something. They come in with a plan. They interviewed well. They had a good resume. They got the job. They come in. They ask for 8 or 9 things. They get them. Everybody in the school supporting them. Everything's going their way. 3 or 4 months, nobody's ever told them no. They think they're going to win the state championship the first year. They're going to go 910-0 over the next 90 years. It's all great. And then one time, the principal needs them to do something. Or the principal has to tell them, we can't hire that guy. We got to hire this one instead. And it's like their attitude goes from everything's going my way, I'm going to go 900-0, to nobody here supports us. They don't want to win. Now, maybe I have a small sample and I don't know what I'm talking about, but it is my guess, an educated guess, that this happens a lot. What do you say, Chet?
Yeah, I would agree with that a lot. And I'll even use my own personal story that I think it took me probably longer in my career to learn how to use the words that Chris uses all the time of hang in there. When you come from being a head coach who was not good, who had experienced as a player a lot of teams that were not good, it's very easy to give in to things when they don't go your way right off the bat. As my friend Brad Sieber out in Arizona talks about front runners all the time, it's very easy to be one of those. When things are perfect, when things are perfectly your way, you can take it and roll and go with it. But the true test of being a good leader is how you go when things aren't good. Just like Chris is talking about. And there's only one way to do that, is you have to work on seeing what's 5 steps ahead. You have to have mentally prepared for things aren't going to be good and how am I going to react? You won't know how they're not going to be good necessarily, but how am I going to react? And that comes from some consistent approach with the people you lead all the time, that this is how we will all the time, because things are never going to stay one way or the other. They'll get better, they'll get great, and then they'll get bad again at some other point. So being tough means that you resist the urge to think too highly of what's going on. That's being tough. And you also resist the urge to feel sorry for your damn self the minute it's not going perfectly. Both sides of that are being tough.
No, that's right. And, you know, let's quantify this by saying it's way easier said than done.
Oh, yeah.
I do not want to necessarily come across as saying, you know, you have to be so unbelievably tough that you can never let anything bother you. No, I mean, it's okay. You're a human. You're supposed to have some emotions about you, but you better figure out how to continue to build those relationships. Better if you had a plan to make freshman parent night the best freshman parent night it could be, and half those freshman parents end up hating you, you got to go back the next year and do that same freshman parent night, maybe even better. You know, you can't let it discourage you. You got to keep hammering, keep getting better. And those are the people that separate from the others. Michael, you got anything on this before I give the list of how to do this?
Yeah, I think it's just the thing with, like, you know, it's easy to, you know, like you say, to be able to show toughness when everything's going your way. You know, it's how do you handle adversity? How do you handle when things aren't going your way? And that's when your true character shows on that front. You know, like do you take that approach of everybody's against me, or you know, take the approach of roll your sleeves up and do what you got to do to make it through this. You know, no matter what school you're at, even if you think you are going to go 900-0, sometimes the ball is not going to bounce your way, and you're going to face some adversity. And how you respond to that is ultimately going to show the character that you have, and your team is going to respond to that. You know, I think you see that a lot in coaching on the field, that the kids respond to how the coach is. If the coach is high strung and yelling at everybody, then the kids are all wound real tight. If the coach is laid back and, you know, is able to, you know, keep them fresh and light, and then the players play better. I always felt like. So, you know, it's very important with you being the leader to be able to, you know, not let everything wind you up and get to you. And you've got to be able to work through some of these things when the ball doesn't bounce your way.
No, that's right. I mean, it just, you know, this is just something that you get better with in time. But
agreed. I was terrible at this early on in my career.
Yeah.
Stop shaking your head.
No,
and I don't want to sound like, again, I really don't want this to come across preachy. Sometimes I don't mind it if it comes across that way. But I'm telling you, I think Michael's right. Yeah, you struggle with younger, but you can be 65 and be struggling with this too. Okay. I mean, it's not really unique to just learning. But so we try to keep it real on the podcast, you know, outside of our unbelievably funny jokes. The second thing we do is keep it real. And want to say, how can you do it? So instead of just saying, nothing used to piss me off more than people saying things like block somebody and run faster and crap like that nobody could possibly not be doing on, you know, on purpose. So I don't like coaches coming on a podcast or tweeting or talking at clinics about you got to communicate better, but they don't tell you how to communicate better. You got to be tougher. Don't tell you how to be tougher. So let me give you a list of some things. We try to do that on how you can go about being tougher, okay, in these situations. And one is put your vision over your feelings. So let's say, Lord knows anybody that hears me on all the stuff I do has heard this before, but let's say the basketball coach has scheduled a basketball game on June 10th, and on June 10th, you wanted to have workouts, and that's some bullshit. Well, I mean, maybe it is. Maybe you had it on the schedule first. But is that battle with this kid and with this coach. You're about your feelings or your vision. Because your vision is to build this program that's winning. And when this kid catches the punt and runs the punt back for a touchdown that missed the workout to go shoot basketball, because hell, he's probably a pretty good player if he's on the basketball team, then nobody's really going to know that you let him miss that basketball workout. It is okay. And so that's one of a billion examples of putting your vision over your feelings. The second part of that, which these kind of go together, is avoid petty problems. Like, again, why are you fighting about that? Now, if the basketball coach takes the whole basketball team on a Halloween basketball fundraiser in the middle of football season for 4 days, yeah, we need to probably talk about that. So one of these is a problem that hurts the vision. One of these is a petty problem. You got to be able to decipher that. What do you guys got to say about that before I get on to the rest
of this? That, I think, probably, I felt like was one thing that took me maybe it was a quick turnaround on that I started to understand that pretty quickly. But it doesn't mean that I still didn't succumb to the feeling sometimes on things. And it's just pure maturity is all it is. And even if you can see that it's better for you, it's sometimes you just can't stand it. You got to get in there and be right, by God.
Mm-hmm. We talk about being right or winning. It's not always the same thing. Sometimes you got to do what helps you win, not necessarily being right, trying to tell somebody you're right. Sometimes you get to tell you right just so you can lose. I'd rather win. Y'all can be right. Michael, you got anything to add to that?
I like to be right.
That's why he's the host of a moderately successful podcast, stuff like that. So the next thing I would say is focus on what you do have. People have been around heard me tell this story, but I thought more than anything, this helped us turn around 2 football programs that were struggling, is the ability to take whatever was going well and spend your energy on this. I coached Chapel Hill. When I got there, we had no money. We had no feeder program. We shared a locker room with a basketball team and a soccer team. And people had to walk a mile to the practice field. And that all irritated the coaches, and we couldn't. But we did have a really good track program, a really good cross-country program. Basketball team was pretty solid. Baseball team was pretty solid. You had all these players in PE. It just felt like if we could just really quit worrying about all that other stuff. It was all there. It didn't go away. But quit worrying about it and just spend our energy on, did we get all these basketball players to play? Did we get these track athletes in a position where they could get to football? Like, and just spend energy on that and try to forget the other stuff. That was impactful and helpful for me. I don't know if that helps other people, but that did help me. The next couple things, you don't have it all figured out. That may seem like, well, duh. But I think you have to tell yourself that. And I will tell you guys, Chad said he struggled with the first couple of these, probably more than me. I mean, I'll be honest. I never really had a bunch of problems putting my vision on myself. I always wanted to win over being right. And I didn't really care what I had to say to the basketball coach or the parent or the principal or whatever, if I could just avoid this petty problem and move on to trying to. I did struggle more with the not have, like I wanted everything to be perfect. So I thought I had this plan, and then turned out it was not perfect. Like these kids miss practice, and this practice plan won't go this way, and it just wore me out. Or better yet, as a play caller, sometimes you think you get in this, we get in this bunch trips, we're going to do this and this and this, and they're not going to have an answer for it. And they wouldn't for a couple of weeks, but inevitably they did. And I thought we should have been more aware of that and should have been saying to ourselves, you don't have it all figured out. You're not, you don't. And you never are going to have it figured out. One of the things I've learned on this podcast, talked to Coach Rankin at Alcoa, now in Chattanooga somewhere. And we talked to Hal Lamb, and we talked to Coach Lattiser, guys who just won thousands of games between. And I still think they were saying stuff indicating they didn't have it figured out. So if they don't, you definitely don't. So you're going to constantly be striving to get better. and to find a new way to practice and a new way to be more efficient and a new offensive play. And you're never going to get there. And that was hard for me. You know, that was harder for me, that I was never going to have this plan that was just exactly what we needed. I kept looking for it. I think it was actually one of the reasons we got good, but it was maddening to me, you know? So I worried more about that. The next one I want y'all to talk a little bit on, because you guys deal with this now, but a toughness model is a mantra, I guess. I guess most of these are mantras is a better way to say, like, you need to be saying them to yourself. You know, is this a petty problem? Avoid petty problems. Focus on what you have. You don't have it figured out. But this may be the most important one to get. You are not going to make all these people happy. Everybody is not your friend. You're not going to please everybody. Just quit trying. There is nothing that irritates me more in leadership in general than folks trying to please everyone. Like, have some principles, PLES flat, not what you do for a living.
Not principals.
Not principles.
Pal.
Have some core beliefs that this is how we're going to do things. And hopefully they are morally and ethically and financially and all that stable. Like, hopefully they're good principles. So they're not like they're something you can live with. And just do that. And if it makes people happy, good. And if it doesn't, fine. You know, there's a story that I'm going to butcher here. Somebody can correct me if they know it better. There's a story that this story always resonated with me. There's 4 or 5 stories of NFL type stuff I used to tell all the time. You know, Chad knows about my one about telling Troy Aikman to wake up, but we're not going to tell that one today. But the story I'm going to tell today is about Bill Parcells, who ends up being one of the best coaches in NFL history. And if I understand right, Bill Parcells is the coach of the Giants. It's his first year, and they're awful. They're just freaking awful. And he pretty much is doing everything that the owners told him to do. Like, he's just so happy. Bill Parcells came from Navy or Air Force or somewhere, and he was not really an NFL. Like, he got to be an NFL head coach, like just like that. And so he's very grateful for this opportunity. And the owner wants him to do this and cut this guy and do this and do this. And yes, sir, he just going. The team was god awful. And at the end of the year, they were trying to fire him. And he found out in the paper that they were trying to fire him, and it was true. And turned out somebody backed out or something, so they ended up not firing him because the guy they wanted wasn't going to take the job or something. And that's the backstory. At some point years ago, I was watching this documentary or something on him, and he just said something to the effect of, you know, I thought right then, if I'm going to get fired, I'm at least going to get fired doing what I want. Because I was probably getting fired even. Mm-hmm. And from then on, because of just, it was passionate for him, the players responded better. The people, you know, that weren't really behind him got behind him because he was confident in what he was doing. And it helped they drafted Lawrence Taylor. But other than that, it was important. So
keeping it real.
that story resonated for me because Chad Flatt's the principal at a school, and there's, you know, 700 kids in that school, and they're not all gonna fit into whatever policy he can create. There's going to be some reason why, if they do this at lunch or this in their homeroom or this, that somebody's not going to like that. And they're probably going to even have maybe a legitimate reason why they don't. But it's Chad's job to come up with a plan that's best for everybody. And he doesn't need to be worrying about every single person getting their feelings hurt. Because if the board of education or the superintendent was going to fire him, they're going to fire him anyway.
Correct.
And if you you know, now I'm not talking about people being disrespectful. I'm not talking about people like backstabbing. I'm not talking about that kind of stuff. I'm just saying you need to figure out, you need to tell yourself, all these people are not going to like you anyway. Do your job. Don't let one person not liking you affect your ability to lead. Do you guys got anything to add to that?
Well, I think it's real easy to do that when you treat people respectfully all the time. It's very, very easy to not have a lot of problems with not pleasing all of them, because when you're very respectful and kind to people, I know this is about toughness and we're talking about kindness right now, but in leadership, it makes it real easy to tell people things they don't want to hear. And it's okay. And you move on from it because usually you'll still have their respect, is what it is. They may not like you, but most times they'll respect you.
No, that's right. And that's what I'm saying. You just gotta, I don't know. Some people are just so scared to just, we can't do that. Those people are, just try. For God's sake, quit worrying about their feelings so much.
So, like, you're not going to make everybody happy no matter what you do. So don't spend a lot of time on that. Like the best Nick Saban quote ever is, "If you want to make everybody happy, sell ice cream." Like,
but it's just what it is.
Correct.
And if you want to get, the internet has made it way easier. The internet, of course, now social media has made it way easier for people to hate on people, right? But I think if you have the right attitude, it's made it easier to understand it. Because whoever you think is good, there are literally thousands of people talking shit about them right now.
Yeah.
Okay. Whether you like Tom Brady or Peyton Manning or Michael Jordan or LeBron James or Bill Belichick or Phil Jackson or whoever you look up to. I used all sport figures, but obviously, if you want to get into politics,
that's not.
No. But I mean, whoever you're for is what I mean. There are literally thousands of people at this moment talking bad about it.
Yep.
So if that doesn't tell you that you're not going to please everybody, I don't know what some of these people could do to show that they're good at their job, but people still talk bad about them. So don't let that bother you. You're wasting energy.
You just have to, when you lead, realize that you have to do what's best for the whole group. And I would tell parents this forever, like, at Chad's school, there's 700 kids. Like, it's his job to do what's in the best interest of all 700 kids. And sometimes one parent's going to be upset with that. And usually, again, rational people, you can have this conversation with them that, I'm sorry that this one time it's not in the best interest of your kid. But again, we have to do what's best for all 700 kids. Mm-hmm. And sometimes those things don't always align perfectly. And I'm sorry. But it is what it is.
That's a conversation that gets had all the time with people, specifically parents who are upset about decisions we made or what they feel they understand is going on with the situation. And that's how you have to handle them. But as we talked about before, it's all handled very respectfully from our side of things. And they don't have to like it. And that we tell them that you don't have to like it, but we get to make these decisions. That's and you got to trust that I'm going to make the best decision for all the kids here.
And every person listening to this is not the head coach. And every person listening to this may not be the head coach even next year or the next. But it doesn't matter. This is going to apply. You can coach the wideouts. And I'm telling you, I could find scenarios where vision over feelings, petty problems, focus on what you have. You don't have it all figured out. You're not going to please everybody. It's going to apply more to the higher you go in the leadership chain. But don't mistake that. The last thing I would say is step up when it's hard. And like I said, these are kind of mantras I would tell myself if I was trying to get tougher and not let my feelings take over. As I'm saying, avoid the petty problems. Focus on what you have. You don't have it all figured out. You're not going to please everybody. Step up when it's hard. Let me tell you what I mean by step up when it's hard. It is okay to have a hard conversation before you have to.
Mm-hmm.
It actually is a better idea, to be honest. So if you can do something I like to call being preemptive, if you can preempt something by saying, let me call so-and-so in because I know they're about to be mad. And let's talk about it. Step up when it's hard. What if you got to throw a kid off the team? That sucks. Step up. Don't avoid it. What if you got to talk to somebody's mom about some big issue? Step up. We had to step. I had kids pass away on the team. You never got to step up more than that. I'm not trying to get any sympathy right now for that. I just mean there's plenty of things that could happen. Some as tragic as that. Some as simple as this kid's violated the rules. I'm about to punish him. In all cases, I see people not stepping up because it's kind of hard, and so I would advise you to step up when it's hard, initiate hard conversations, be preemptive, but be adaptable too. Be adaptable, like with the basketball coach. Be adaptable. Initiate that conversation earlier. So if I was mad at the basketball coach, I'd be adaptable. I'd let the guy go to the basketball thing. And then maybe next, like February or March, I'm going to initiate that conversation with that basketball coach before he makes that schedule. And we're going to talk about it again. You know, I'm not going to wait for him to make it and then we have another second. But never give up on your vision. Keep your vision at the front. And my favorite saying that I stole from Dr. Kevin Elko, so I got to give him the credit for this. I don't know if he stole it from somebody too, but I'm going to give him the credit. But was with the University of Alabama went with this so what, now what theme. We just so what. Whatever's happening, so what, now what are we going to do? And I really do this. This is one of my strengths. I got plenty of weaknesses. This is one of my strengths. Pretty much whatever is happening, I really can say, so what, now what? Let's go. Or like Chad said, we're going to hang in there. You know, we're going to hang in there. We're going to find a way to make this work. That's been a great mantra for me, and hopefully we can pass that on to you guys. So you got what else you got about this, Chad?
Just the one part you always talk about, those hard conversations. You know, have the hard conversations. Don't be hard-headed about it and think that magic's going to happen.
It's not just going to magically go away.
It isn't. So, and you know, all of us have our failings of leadership, of not addressing things that we should have. Mm-hmm. We all do it. But it's unless they're dying or quitting in 2 weeks or something, it's never really too late to have that conversation. So something you got to consider.
No, that's right. And it's, I obviously can't tell you some of the stuff I do with an HR in my world now, but so many times that me initiating that conversation before it's gotten to a certain point, what you would think would be a hard conversation, sometimes they end up leaving thanking you. Like you thought they were going to cry or quit or scream or throw stuff at you. And sometimes they leave thanking you because you hit it off just close enough where you hit home, told them they had to improve on something. Something's not going well. Chad deals with this. I mean, I call anybody specific out, but I mean, as a principal, you're going to tell people sometimes they're not doing a good job. That sucks. Nobody wants to hear that. But if you hit it early enough in the process, you can actually correct them, like snap them back into reality of they will later be glad that you did that. Now, if you wait later in the process, it's usually going the other way. And so finding that place to initiate that hard conversation is really important. Michael, you about to find that out as you're moving up to that big site county where they walk on water. You're going to have to figure that out.
Yeah.
This is where you would say something, Michael.
Sure.
You might want to edit that part.
All
you
right.
Have to
I think this whole episode, the word toughness and maturity can kind of become interchangeable. Like all of this stuff that you talk about comes with maturity. Because I can think of a lot of things when I was a younger coach and slightly less mature, and how you handle situations versus, you know, after you've been through some of these, you usually learn that maybe that wasn't the best way. Maybe I should do a little bit differently.
That's actually exactly right, Michael. The maturity is a better word, actually, honestly. This toughness is more coach related. But
right.
Don't give Michael credit for that. I said that earlier.
No, you
about
didn't.
Maturity.
We have this on tape, bro.
Yes.
I did.
I'll edit that out. So.
Is that avoiding a petty problem? Was that a
Quit trying to focus on being right, Flat.
Yeah, we're trying to win, not be right. But that is true. It really is about just growing up, understanding what's more important, whatever. I like using this word toughness because it draws attention on the relationships, communication, toughness. Because to summarize those three things that I talk about all the time in coaching, it's you got to build relationships. But most coaches are good relationship builders, guys. Most coaches are really good at relationships. This is not something they have to work too hard on. Most of them. Where they struggle with is they can't turn. You can't just be a good relationship builder. You really can't. You can't just be that. You have to be able to communicate your vision to these players and parents and administration and whatever. And then, so that's kind of step 2, builds on step 1. And then step 3 would be, we have to build these relationships. We have to communicate all with these people, even when it's tough, even when you got to be mature about it. And if you're not doing all three of those things, you're not going to be as good as you can be. You're just not. Some people are really good at one of them, some two. The best people are good at all three of them. Platt, what are you doing?
I was telling Ty what we were recording. I was telling him he just needs to check it out, and he figured it out. Was what it was.
Why don't you, Michael? Why don't we